In this video, we will share the untold story of Loretta Lynn with you while showing you some of her rare photos. Loretta Lynn started her life as the poor daughter of a coal miner and then worked her way to the top. But when she got to the top, it didn't take too long before everything she'd worked for started getting taken away from her one after the other. Why? And why is her husband blamed for the many tragedies she faced in her life and career? Let's find out while showing you some of her rare photos. Looking at Loretta and the circumstances surrounding her birth and childhood, you will agree that this singer had no right to make it this big in life and career. It sounds almost like fiction that the daughter of a local coal miner would, in such little time, become the most decorated woman in all of country music history. Loretta and all 8 of her siblings grew up listening to country music. Their parents might not have been able to brag about the luxuries of life, but they kept their home alive and warm with country music. Little wonder Loretta was not the only country music star in her family. Her success simply just overshadowed every other person. Lynn's sisters, Peggy Sue and Crystal Gale, are also professionals in the country genre. You might remember Peggy for her 1969 hit, I'm Dynamite, and Crystal for her breakthrough song, Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue, which peaked in the top 5 of the Billboard Hot 100. Inspired by the legendary American vocalist Patsy Cline, Lynn would start her own band, which included her sisters and her brother, J. Lee Webb. They called themselves the Trailblazers, and together they performed in local clubs and event centers in the 1950s. But as talented as they were still not taken seriously. But things were about to change for Lynn and her family after she won a local talent contest in Tacoma, Washington. Among her mesmerized audience was Canadian businessman Norm Burley of Zero Records. He immediately arranged for a proper session with Lynn in Hollywood, and there 4 of her compositions were recorded, including I'm a Honky Tonk Girl, Whispering Sea, Heartache Meet Mr. Blues, and New Rainbow. Following the success of her singles, Zero Records immediately offered the young star a contract, and she signed it in 1960. Lynn's future in the industry was already promising, but the singer wanted to increase her chances of reaching an international breakthrough. So she partnered with the Wilburn Brothers Publishing Company, and this might just be Loretta Lynn's deepest career regret. Sometime in late 1960, Loretta joined hands with the Wilburn Brothers, and she began cutting demo records for them. They promised her fame and recognition only if she would give them the publishing rights to her songs. Loretta was young and did not give much thought to this, so she quickly signed the contract. All she knew was that she was going to be successful, and she was going to learn the hard way. Just like they promised, they secured Lynn a better contract with Decca Records, and by the end of the year, Billboard magazine listed her as the number 4 most promising country female artist. They got even more creative in promoting Loretta and her songs, and even though she hates to admit it, her relationship with Wilburn's brothers was the major reason why her breakthrough came that early in her career, and not talent or effort. By the end of the 2nd year of their partnership, Loretta had become the number 1 female recording artist in country music. Realizing just exactly what the Wilburn brothers had done, Lynn fought to regain the publishing rights to her materials, but she was never going to succeed. It took her over 30 years to accept defeat, and she ended her relationship with them. In Decca Records, Lynn released her first single, Success, in 1962, and it went straight to number 6 on the charts. Moving forward, it became increasingly rare for Loretta to drop a song, and it wouldn't hit the top 10. Did this get in her head? Well, a little bit, and it would sponsor a few bad decisions. In 1963, Lynn released her debut studio album, Loretta Lynn Sings, and it peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Top Country Album Survey. It was happening all so fast right now. Lynn was finally in the days that she prayed for. Sadly, her father was not going to be around to enjoy his daughter's success. He died a year before her first single, Honky Tonk Girl, was released. 1967 was an even better year for the fast-rising artist. Her single, Don't Come Home A-Drinkin', was released that year, and it became her first number 1 country music hit. Lynn got even more popular with songs like Woman of the World, To Make a Man, Rated X, and You Ain't Woman Enough, which would become one of Lynn's all-time most popular. You would think that Lynn had learned her lessons about sneaky collaborations after what happened with the Wilburn brothers, but no, she was still going to pursue that which had the potential of making her miserable. In 1971, Lynn signed on to a professional partnership with Conway Twitty, and in less than 5 years, This duo produced 5 consecutive #1 hits, including After the Fire Is Gone, Lead Me On, Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man, As Soon as I Hang Up the Phone, and Feelings. Following the success of their collaborations, Lynn and Conway were named the Vocal Duo of the Year by the Country Music Association. Loretta, in an interview, would reveal the real secret behind the inspiration of her songs. According to her, she wrote songs to reflect the struggles women in marriage face with philandering husbands. With her music, Loretta expressed controversial contributions about birth control, repeated childbirth, double standards for men and women, and being widowed by the draft during the Vietnam War, and how people were going to react. By 1987, Loretta revealed that more than 8 of her songs were banned by country music radio stations, but as it would seem, this was far too small to stop her. Loretta Lynn was a favorite to many country music lovers, and this was not just about her skill in the recording studio. Beyond her work on the microphone, people admired Lynn because of how kind and selfless she was. Lynn was asked one time why she never turned down fans who come for autographs, even if they come in large numbers, and the artist responded, "These people are my fans. I will stay here until the very last one wants my autograph. Without these people, I'm nobody. I love these people." 60 years and 18 Grammy Award nominations later, Loretta was ready for her last dance in the industry. On March 19, 2021, Lynn released her 50th studio album, Still Woman Enough. Featured in this album were Carrie Underwood, Reba McEntire, Tanya Tucker, and Margot Price. To some people, this album paled in comparison with a few of Loretta's star projects, but true fans just didn't care. Their hearts were filled with gratitude to the artist whose voice had kept them entertained for the past 60 years. For many years up until her death and even after that, Loretta's love life has continued to make headlines for 2 reasons. First was the fact that Lynn got married at the age of 15, and before she was 20, she was already a mother to 4 children. The second and most unpopular would be how and why she endured such hardships and abuse from one man, whom she could have easily replaced if she wanted. Lynn met Oliver Vanetta as a teenager, and it is difficult to imagine what he said to a 15-year-old to convince her to defy her parents and become his wife. Anyway, their love won in the end, so the couple tied the knot on August 27, 1926. Vanetta was 5 years her senior. Many people believe Oliver to be Loretta's inspiration to stand up for women in abusive relationships, and she doesn't deny it. But why did she continue to stay with all that he did to her? Why didn't she practice what she preached? Loretta commented on this, and she revealed that it was not just love that kept her with a drunk who constantly abused her. According to her, she stayed with him for 48 years until his death because he always had her best interest at heart, and that to her was very rare. Might not sound very convincing, but Lynn went deeper to reveal that her husband was the one who pushed her to start her music career. Her first guitar was Oliver's present to her, and after her songs were recorded, he went from one radio station to another as he tried to promote them. After her breakthrough, he would still step up to become her talent manager. Not to even mention all of her most famous hits, which he inspired. I wouldn't have started singing in the first place, and I wouldn't have had inspirations for some of my best songs. So in the real sense, Doolittle is responsible for everything we got, she said. Her fans noticed another thing that was very unusual in her romance with Oliver. The more Lynn talked about the abuses she faced at home, the happier her husband got. When she was asked, Lynn revealed that Oliver doesn't care so much about what she does in the recording studios, he is only interested in how much money they're making. Despite little fights, he meant everything to me. Still does, Lynn concluded. The secret to her long-lasting union, according to Lynn, was their ability to love each other beyond their flaws. In most ways, Dew has been a good husband. I don't want to say he's never fooled around or gotten drunk or whipped me into line a little because that ain't the truth. There were plenty of bad moments in our marriage, but I've always respected my husband's common sense. The couple shared 6 children: Betty Sue, who died in 2013, Jack Benny, who died in 1984, Sissy, who is 70, Ernest Ray, 68, and twins Peggy and Patsy, who are 58 years old. Oliver died in 1996 at age 69. He suffered from complications from diabetes and heart failure. Lynn doesn't forget to send out blessings to him each year on their anniversary, as she constantly expresses how his death left a huge vacuum in her heart that cannot be filled by anyone or anything. And with that, the artist silenced all speculations of her ever finding love again. However, Lynn, at the peak of her fame, enjoyed such overwhelming success that anything and anybody associated with her could not resist. This was why she was always meeting new artists who had come to ask for features or mentions in her songs. But the most interesting thing Lynn did with her influence was when she lent the story of her background for a movie production. The film was a wild success, winning an Oscar and 7 Academy Award nominations. On March 5, 1980, the film Coal Miner's Daughter debuted in Nashville, and it became the #1 box office hit in the United States. The movie featured actress Sissy Spacek as Loretta and Tommy Lee Jones as her husband. For her performance as Loretta in the film, Spacek won the Oscar for Best Actress. The film was also honored with a Grammy nomination for Spacek, Country Music Association Awards, a Gold Album for the soundtrack album, and several Golden Globes. The Coal Miner's Daughter was not just successful because of great acting or production. People loved it because it was relatable. It tells the story of Loretta Lynn and her rise from the depths of poverty to the title of Queen of Country Music. Loretta built a ranch in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, and it is still one of the wonders of the state today. She called it the Loretta Lynn's Ranch, and it is dubbed the 7th largest attraction in Tennessee for all the right reasons. It features a recording studio, museums, lodgings, restaurants, and Western stores. It's also home to 3 holiday concerts which are hosted annually at the ranch: Memorial Day weekend, 4th of July weekend, and Labor Day weekend. There was a time when Lynn lived in the magnificent plantation home at the center of the ranch, but she moved 30 years before her death. This ranch also reflects the type and quality of woman Loretta Lynn was and how humble she remained even in the face of defying success. Loretta Lynn was no stranger to the afflictions of illnesses and death, as it stole all the irreplaceable people in her life. First was her father, who died before she even got successful in the industry, and then her siblings. When she was finally ready to build her own family, it still would not spare her children and her husband. Lynn's eldest daughter, Betty Sue, who was born on November 26, 1948, died of complications associated with emphysema. She was 65 years old at the time of her death. Her second son, Jack Benny Lynn, was found dead by drowning after he had gone missing days ago while horse riding on his mother's Hurricane Mills ranch. The next person on death's hit list was Loretta Lynn. Lynn had always struggled with sicknesses right from her childhood. Time and time again, she has been diagnosed with pneumonia, and in one case, she had a broken arm after a heavy fall in her home. In 2017, Loretta had a stroke at her home in Hurricane Mills, and the doctors advised her to cancel all tours and public events, which she did. The artist was already on her way to full recovery when tragedy struck again. January the following year, Lynn fell and broke her hip, and this frustrated every progress she had made so far. On October 4, 2022, Lynn died in her sleep in her home in Hurricane Mills. She was 90 and was buried 3 days later in her ranch. Loretta Lynn's legacy endures as a pioneering female artist who broke barriers with her voice, which championed honesty and authenticity. Her contributions to country music will forever be in the sands of time, and her impact was felt in the genre and beyond. At the time of her death, she had an estimated net worth of $65 million. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our other videos of beautiful actresses from the yesteryears on the end screen. As always, thanks for watching.